quorum is present at this time. And so we have called the meeting to order at this time. And can everyone hear who is out there on camera? Ann, are we able to hear you?
I'm here.
Okay, Ann is here, and Dave and Michael. Good. Okay.
I'm here.
Present.
Okay, and then we'll move on to item number 2 then. Public appearances for non-agenda items. Is there any member from the public wishing to speak? I only see the city administrator here, and it doesn't look like he wants to speak at this time, but he will be here to answer questions. Then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for our meeting on March 3rd, 2020. Is there a motion at this time to approve the minutes from that date?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion by Gronetsky, a second by Scott. And
Second.
and there is, and so, is there any changes or comments on the minutes? Okay, being none then, we will move into a vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed can say nay. And in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. We're now into the report from the department, and it should be an interesting report today, Mr. Director.
Yeah, it's a different time. Just so you guys know, construction has kind of continued on as if everything else is normal. Fish Hatchery Road is under construction. The one good thing is traffic is light, so we hope and anticipate maybe expediting the schedule as much as we can. We did get some time restrictions removed to do some work at the intersection of Greenway Cross. It was supposed to be 9 to 3, and now they're gonna work 7 to 7, so hopefully we can get a lot more work done in a little bit lesser amount of time, and maybe we can get ahead of schedule. But anyway, right now they're working on the temp traffic control on the crossovers. Hopefully on the 15th or 16th, we're gonna switch traffic so we can start rebuilding the northbound lanes. Central Park Place in Uptown has restarted their construction for the year. They started the middle of last week. They're starting on road grading, getting things up to grade. Fahey, Glen, and Promega also have started. They've got, the utility work is pretty much complete, and they'll be starting on road grading and that kind of work. So they'll be starting to do curb and gutter, sidewalk, trails, and then eventually the road. Terra Vesta also is beginning to start up again. They're gonna start trying to finish their work so they can get acceptance of public improvements for what they've got underway. You probably can see the juice plant redevelopment. That's happening as we speak. McKee Road, the state portion of the project, they have started construction. You can see from Commerce headed west. That portion is already under work. It looks like the rest of McKee Road's under work, but most of that right now is utility work. Later tonight, we'll have the contract portion of that for approval. We're working on stormwater plans, several of them. We're working on Lake Barney, the Sub-Zero Stoner Prairie stormwater plan. Tomorrow, the Cyene Road, RFP goes out for the next year's construction of Cyene from Lacey to McCoy. Crack filling bids received last week, so we'll be looking at getting something ready for an award of that bid. They came in a little bit more than we wanted, so we're doing a change order as part of the contract approval, so we'll approve just what we have money for. We're preparing bids for seal coating, resurfacing, and several other projects at the same time. So that's kind of the report.
Okay. Very good. We will move in then to, is there any questions? We'll move into questions.
I have one, Mr. Chair. Mike, where are we at with spring street sweeping?
We had about a 1 week delay, and it was COVID related, but we are starting, so we're about a week behind where we'd like to be. But however, having said that, we had kind of gotten it ready and started a little bit early, so I would say we're just a few days behind where we'd want to be. So they are out there sweeping right now.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else with
I have one
questions?
question. I know they put out something about the cleaning of the water mains or something, the hydrants. Has that changed?
We And we delayed that because we thought with the election going on, the clerk's office was just very inundated when they were gonna have the election happen tomorrow. And usually when we flush water mains, there's a lot of calls come into City Hall, and especially with everybody home, we thought there'd be a lot more calls, and we wanted to take that pressure off of City Hall, so we delayed it 1 week, so we're gonna start next week. And that should have got put out there, last week, towards the middle part of the week, we did a new announcement.
Anybody else with questions?
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, very good. We will move on then to, unless there's any more questions or anybody else has anything, we can move on then to action items. Any other questions? Okay. We then will entertain a motion to approve Resolution R 6620, approving the Fourth Amendment to Agreement for Subdivision Improvements in the Plat of Nine Springs. Is there a motion at this time?
Dave Herbst will move approval.
Second,
Okay, and we'll go to the director for a discussion of what that is.
What this is there was a trail that was supposed to be completed as part of the Phoenix project, and there was some wetland issues, so that trail got deleted, or delayed, I should say. And this amendment is allowing for the construction of that trail to coincide with the other trails in the uptown area. So it's just amendment for those improvements to allow that trail to be built.
Any questions?
Won't be any conflict with other work you have done, like curbs or anything like that?
No impact. It takes off from an existing piece of trail, and this piece has no impacts to any other trails or public improvements whatsoever.
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion on this item? Any questions? Okay, being none, then we'll move into a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed may say nay.
aye.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. That passes. We're now into item 5B, which is Resolution R 63-20, approving supplemental agreement for subdivision improvements in the plat of second addition to Stoner Prairie. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we'll go to the director.
This is a standard subdivision improvement agreement. It's the final phase for the Stoner Prairie development. This language, requires that they install all the public improvements. It sets forth language as to when they can get building permits and when they can get occupancy. Other than that, it's pretty much our standard subdivision improvement agreement. It's the final phase of Stoner Prairie.
Okay. So this is the final agreement then. Any questions on that? If there's no questions or comments, we will go into a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed may say nay. Okay, the ayes have it, and that passes. Okay. We will move on and move into item number 5C, Resolution R 46-20, approving agreement for subdivision improvements in the plat of Crescent Crossing. Is there a motion to approve?
Dave Herbst, the motion's to approve. Moves to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
This is the exact same thing as the Stoner Prairie agreement. It's just for Crescent Crossing right next door. It's for the first phase of their development. Again, sets forth, language that what they have to do as far as public improvements, what they need to do before we will issue building permits or allow for occupancy.
okay. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, diagram, there's a diagram in here, isn't there, I believe, for this one? So that is it's the diagram. Everyone is happy with that as far as sizing and everything. This is the one that was the hornet's nest before, am I correct?
I'm sorry,
You
what?
want to say that again, Dave? I'm sorry.
So that, the diagram on here showing the four phases, is that the one on page 43, Mike?
Yep.
Okay, so these are all, this is the other residents in the area, this is acceptable, these lot sizes and everything in this subdivision. This is what kind of the original intent was.
This is what was approved by Plan Commission, correct?
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so this is only guidance.
Oh, the next one's the guidance.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry. Okay, so then we'll go into a vote. All in favor of approval, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
And those approved may say nay. Or those opposed may say nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. We're now on item 5D. This is Resolution R 56-20, resolution to approve redevelopment guidance for storm water management requirements on redevelopment projects. Is there a motion to approve the guidance from the city?
Motion to approve.
Okay, and
Second that motion.
there's a motion and a second from Granetsky and Herbst respectively. And we'll go and talk about what this is. Sounds like it's pretty much guidance for stormwater classifications, but we'll let our director give us some more details.
Correct. This is guidance only, but what we find is with redevelopment projects, we get a lot of questions up front, and sometimes developers and that start their plans before they kind of figure out what's required in redevelopment. So this is meant to kind of help clarify what redevelopment is, what the requirements for redevelopment as far as stormwater is concerned is, and kind of gets them, answers a lot of questions right up front so they don't have to contact us so much. So we kind of mirrored it after the city of Madison has a similar document, and Dane County as well.
And it provides some regulatory guidance for these guys?
Correct.
And they have sort of going in, know what they're gonna get?
Yep. It's all based on our ordinance.
Mike, a question, the part, thermally sensitive, where we're trying to prevent the water getting heated up and, leaving right away. What's different about this, the area in pink on there that, on page, I think it's page 52 of the packet, what's different about that's thermally sensitive?
I think it's because it feeds trout water, which is a cold water tributary, and thermal impact. So warm water has a very bad impact on those waters and those fisheries. So that's what it's about.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent explanation.
Okay, so anybody else with questions or comments?
Just a real quick, you've got some Q's without A's, just a quick formatting thing.
In the document itself?
Page 46.
Aha. Gotcha. We will correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. And if there's no one else who wishes to speak or comment or has a question, we can vote if you'd like. It's your pleasure. Doesn't look like it, so we'll go into a vote. All in favor of approval indicate so by saying aye.
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 And those opposed? That passes. And now we're on to item 5E. This is ordinance 2020-09, update to stormwater events listed in the erosion control and stormwater management ordinance. All in favor, please indicate so, we'll take a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second that motion.
There's a motion and a second from Gurnetsky, and Herbst respectively. And we will go to the director for an explanation.
So in 2015, NOAA published new rainfall amounts, and we have been using them ever since. The city of Fitchburg and every community in the area has been using them ever since, but our ordinance did not get updated to reflect those amounts. So this is just bringing that up to speed as to what is the standard practice that we're using, so our ordinance matches what we're requiring.
Okay.
Mike, just an explanation for anyone, the super bored people at home that aren't able to go outside and are watching. These guidelines, they basically say, if we look at the 4 classes, every year we'll have a 2.5-inch rainfall. Sometime, we'll get one day where we'll get, during that year, we're going to have a rainfall that totals 2.5 inches in a day. Sometime within that 2-year period, we'll get one that's a little closer to 3 inches. Sometime in the 10-year, we're gonna have one over 24 hours that's over 4. And every 100 years in a 24-hour period, we're going to have a 6-inch rainfall. Am I stating that correctly?
That's a good summary. What happened with the update is the smaller storms actually went down, and like the 100-year event, the rainfall amount went up. So the larger duration or frequency events, those rainfall amounts went up. That's why you're seeing the big, huge storms. And the smaller ones actually went down because what's happening is we're getting larger rainfall events and less small rainfall events.
All or nothing, okay.
Yep.
So the changes to our ordinance will reflect the new magnitude that's out there.
Correct. And we've been utilizing them since 2015. It's really housekeeping.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? Let's go to a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed may say nay. Okay, it sounds like the ayes have it. That passes. We'll move on to item 5G, Resolution R68-20, a resolution authorizing approval of bids for construction of public improvements in the Commerce Park Drive extension. Is there a motion to approve?
I think you skipped one, Dan.
Go to order.
I'm sorry. No, I did. You know what? I apologize. We're at item 5F, ordinance to update requirements for internally drained watersheds.
Yep.
Is there a motion on item 5F?
I move approval of 2020-0-11.
Second.
A motion by Herbst and Gurnetsky respectively. We are in discussion, and we'll go to the director to see what this is about.
So this was, as part of the developer bills, there was a change to the state statute, so we're correcting our ordinance to follow state statute. Currently, our ordinance requires 100% infiltration of the average annual pre-development infiltration volume. State statute only allows 90% of the difference between the pre-development and the post-development volume. We're still asking for that, but we cannot require it because it would be contrary to state statute, so we're really asking for it, but we're not requiring it. So that's a change in the ordinance to be in congruence with state statute.
Mike, where would be an example, where would be an area internally drained watershed?
Stoner Prairie
Okay.
is one. Lake Barney would be another one.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll go to a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed may say nay. The ayes have it. That passes. We'll move into item now, 5G, and this is a resolution R68-20, a resolution authorizing approval of bids for construction of public improvements for the Commerce Park Drive extension.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we got a motion,
I'll second the motion.
and there's a second from Herbst. And we'll hear from our director.
Okay, this is, as part of the development agreement we have with Promega down by Sub-Zero, they're required to put in Commerce Park Drive. And we did what's called a cost agreement with them. So they're required to spend on Commerce Park and then part of Lacey within the TIF district, a certain amount of money. And then anything beyond that, the city will be reimbursing it. That way we can, when we do Lacey, which isn't related to this, but it'll be one project. But for Commerce, it's really their contract and they will be paying for it. But as part of that cost sharing agreement, we have the right to review the bids, look at them, make sure they're following our specifications, but it is their contract. The good news is, it was about 80,000 under estimate, and Hammersley Stone was low bid at 979,337.54. And I would recommend approving the bids, really pretty good pricing. Blacktop was back down a little bit, and finally we get a bid that's under an estimate. And I think the estimate was not inflated. It was a tight estimate, so we really got a good price, I think.
So everything outside the TID, the city's paying for, we have an agreement with them, they're all in one contract, they're paying for everything in the TID. And so we got the bids, we're just approving the bids for what we're doing. And you thought we got a good price?
Right, and this is all gonna fall under their payment.
Okay.
This portion right here is
Okay.
100% gonna be theirs.
We got them a deal.
Yep,
These are good bids, you think?
these are good bids.
Okay. So now you know. Any questions or comments?
Mike, are you anticipating favorable asphalt bids with oil being relatively low, or is this just a dip that won't be reflected in their
We talked to the contractor, and honestly, they buy their asphalt on futures so far in advance that the current prices don't reflect, but it is really close to paying a Dolan. I think it's more of that they don't want someone else paving in their backyard. I think that's why we got really good asphalt prices.
Oh, good.
Okay. They wanted the contract.
They don't want someone else's trucks.
Okay.
Yep,
We'd prefer to use them too if they're,
yep, they're local.
Okay. We'll go into a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed can say nay. And it appears the ayes have it. Item 5H, Resolution R65-20, approving second supplement to agreement for subdivision improvements in the plat of North Park subdivision improvements on Onlight 8 in first addition to North Park. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. You want to talk about this a little bit?
Yep, so this is, if you guys remember a while ago in the North Park development, he vacated a little park lot. He had more parkland dedication than what he was required to, and I think he wants to build a swimming pool. But we had to amend their agreement because that land has to be removed from the parkland dedication, and then any fees, if he adds any additional units or anything like that, he would have to pay for it. So this is language so that it removed that square footage from his parkland dedication, and then it has language in there, so if there's any additional fees required, because now this is his land again, that he would have those become due at the time when he requests occupancy, or the building permit, I'm sorry.
You and staff are satisfied with that? Seems to make sense to me.
Yeah, I think it makes his development a lot more marketable, and I think he's supplying a need that his residents really have asked for.
Any other questions? Okay, being none then, we will move into a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed may say nay. And in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. That clears the committee. Item 5I, Resolution R64-20, authorizing acceptance of a proposal from Emmons and Oliver Resources, INC, for stormwater management study and preparation of design concepts to mitigate flooding surrounding Lake Barney. Is there a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
So this is the city's portion of the Lake Barney study. You know, as you know, Oregon, the village of Oregon is doing some downstream stormwater improvements to be able to handle maybe some additional water because Lake Barney is full and it's a kettle. Typically, it's at about 6 or 7 feet higher than what its normal water elevation is. So it's creating some flooding impacts, not only to some actual residential property, but a lot of farmland is being impacted. And that's part of what we want to look at with this study is what can we do to maybe mitigate that and get that farmland back in production and then reduce or eliminate the problems with the residential properties. We got 6 proposals in when we did this. We interviewed 2 firms. Really was a tough decision. 2 firms were really close. We're really happy with this firm and this selection, and we'd recommend selecting EOR for the cost that's in the proposal.
so is Oregon, they're doing a portion of the study as well?
They're doing their own work downstream right now.
Okay,
We're gonna do this study, and then depending on what the study determines should be built, then we might have a joint thing with Oregon, because there could be some improvements that would benefit both the city of Fitchburg, the village of Oregon, and maybe even the town of Oregon.
and then how much is the study for?
60,000. And that's what was approved in the CIP.
Okay. This was in the CIP, I do remember this. Is there any comments or questions? Doesn't sound like it, so,
I got one. Mike, you worked with them before on this company?
Yes, they are the designer for Terra Vesta. They did Corey Vista, or at least in conjunction with someone else, did a lot of the Corey Vista work. We've also talked to Dane County's stormwater management area, and they've done work with this group as well, so we feel very comfortable.
Have they come before the board? It seems like I recall.
Probably was Debbie Hatfield, if you remember that name, came before the board, I'm sure, as part of Terra Vesta or Corey Vista. And they've done quite a bit of other work in town development-wise, and,
Thank you.
yep. The reason, Dave, that you don't recognize the name is they were combined with another company. It used to be Mars, M-A-R-S, Montgomery Associates, and so they got combined. That changed the name.
All right.
okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, being none then, we'll move into a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Okay, we're in item 5J, we're getting there. This is resolution R58-20. This is a Seminole Village Pond Municipal Flood Control Project. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
So this is part of the McKee Road project. We're expanding the Seminole Village Pond, and then we're putting a small pond. This grant doesn't have anything to do with it, but just so you know, there's a small pond by the theater as well. But this is a grant to help pay for or fund that pond expansion. The project costs that we anticipate is about $350,000. This grant application's about $175,000, and then we're also applying for about $125,000 of Dane County grant money. So almost enough to pay for the project.
And that's from the state, 175,000?
170, it's DNR, yes.
Mike, are we increasing the, the volume by going down, going lower, or are we widening it? How are we enlarging the?
There's room that we're coming toward McKee Road. If you look at the pond, when you go around the corner, the pond doesn't come all the way up to McKee, so we're expanding it that way, and we are, improving the slopes, and then we're dredging it too, so we're getting storage back by dredging any sediment that's in the bottom out, so we'll get some increased storage that way.
The Dane County grant, you said it was 125,000?
Correct.
So 300,000, so that would probably cover the bulk of the cost.
Correct.
Mike, do we have to do anything special with the dredging?
We will have to test it and make sure if there's, I don't anticipate for where this is at that we'll have any problem, but if it would have some type of real high concentration of heavy metals in that, we might have to landfill it separately, but it's very uncommon in this location with what's around it that we'd have an issue.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments then on this? Move into a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed may say nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. That passes. We're on to item 5K. This is Resolution R47-20, a resolution authorizing the city to direct purchase a traffic signal equipment from the city of Madison for the Fish Hatchery Road construction that's upcoming. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval of R4720.
Second.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. And I've seen these portable traffic signals, but maybe you want to explain it some more.
Yeah, this is actually for the permanent signal equipment. It was part of the cost that the city council's already approved, so it's not additional cost, but we want the city of Madison, because they purchase through the state contract and they maintain all of our signals, so this would allow them to have similar equipment as to what we have everywhere else in the city, so that they can maintain it much more easily, have the spare parts and those kind of things. So this is just approval so that they can purchase the equipment off the state contract for the project, and it was already included in the project budget.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, being none then, we will go into a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
And those
Aye.
opposed may say nay. And the ayes have it. This is going to be item 5L, Resolution R76-20, banning contractors from using the Fitchburg recycling drop-off site. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval of R76-20.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay. And so obviously this is pretty straightforward. I think we're going to ban contractors from using the recycling site, which I believe is located at the Public Works facility on Fish Hatchery Road. Is
Correct.
that right? Is that basically, is people been using it? Is that what's going on?
They've been using it and abusing it, and we don't have room for the amount of material that contractors bring, and it's really intended for the residential people to be able to utilize, and it's very expensive for us if we've got to move that material or have Purple Cow compost it and take it off-site. Our quote from them was like $35,000, so this is just kind of reinforcing what really should be happening, but we want to make sure that you guys are aware that we're going to start finding contractors. We'll start with warnings, but eventually we're going to find them if they keep dumping stuff off there.
Okay, any questions or comments?
Do we have a working camera there?
We do.
How are you gonna tell the difference between a contractor and a resident?
Well, during working hours, if we see someone, we'll stop them, but a lot of times it's pretty blatant that they're there in a contractor's truck, you know, that it's pretty clear what they're doing. We also can run plates to see whose vehicle it is and see if it's licensed to a contractor, because usually a contractor's vehicle will have commercial plates.
Like when we play devil's advocate, the contractor, the yard waste all came from residents in the city. So they still would not be allowed to drop it off.
That's correct, and it's just a manpower issue of us not being able to track them down, and we frankly don't believe that they're giving our residents a benefit of using our facility, and we think we're getting a lot from outside the community, and it just would be hard to track each one of those down, call them, find out that they used our residents, and then it would just be a policing nightmare.
Yeah, I think we should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, Dave Wilborn called me today and just was very happy to see this on the agenda. That's all he said. And when he told me he wasn't gonna be here tonight, he echoed that same thing. He thought this should have been done a long time ago.
Do we know what the citation process is? Does public works staff contact the police department?
Actually, Dina, our secretary can issue the citation. Like I said, we're gonna start with warnings, but I think the citation, it's in our ordinance as far as what the fees are. I believe it's $175, but don't quote me. It's in that neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Being none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Well, is there anyone who wants to register as opposed? I think the ayes have it, that passes. We're on to 5M. This is Resolution R 77-20, a resolution approving the construction contract with Wisconsin Department of Transportation for the McKee Road and amending the 2020 TID 6 utility and capital projects budgets for the McKee Road project. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Great. Okay, then we'll go into discussion. We'll let the director give us a explanation.
So as part of the previous budgeting process, we had $9.5 million approved for the project. Obviously, that was prior to bids. We got bids back. They weren't terrible. They were about 4.6% over the estimate. That amounts to about $390,000. We've got $90,000 of additional project work that we need to do. It's laid out in the memo. We've got some hazardous materials that need to get hauled off-site. We've got conflict redesigns with utilities. We're trying to expedite some utility relocates by doing some redesign work so that we can get them out of the way quicker. We do think that we have a verbal understanding with the utility that we will get reimbursed for some of that. So there's some things like that and a little bit more land acquisition than what was originally anticipated. So that's about $90,000. We're asking for about $600,000 of contingency for the construction, which is about 7% of the project cost. And then DOT, because it's DOT-run project, assesses us 10% of the contract amount, which is $883,000. So that's about $2 million, and that's about what we're over the $9.5 million. The good news is a lot of it is funded by TIF, and we're as far as general obligation debt, it looks like we're asking for about $580,000 of additional borrowing from general obligation debt. And then if there's some specific questions, I can go into it. There's just a lot of numbers, and I don't want to bore you if you understand it, or if you have specific questions, I'd rather answer those directly.
What,
Go ahead.
development is included in the TID 6?
I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't hear you.
What development is included in TID 6?
TID 6 is Sub-Zero
Okay,
and Promega.
okay.
Oh, yeah, and race day events and Hop House and that area is all part of that as well.
Okay, okay,
It's that whole area.
very good, okay.
Mike, we'd ask you, it was before you were here, but we had a contentious overrun with the local utility. And we'd ask you to stay on top of that, or let them know if anything changes, they need to get approval from you. You know, if there's gonna be any higher costs that we have to bear, you know, that they can't incur them without getting your approval.
Correct, and right now, they've signed off that they have no compensable relocations.
Okay. All right.
The only one that thought they did, but they couldn't find any documents to show that was ATC. So right now, to my knowledge, we don't have any compensable utility relocations.
Okay, good.
And were there other considerations, redesign or anything like that for this guy instead of just going after another $2 million?
No, this is actually based on the actual bid. So it's it's a publicly bid project through the DOT, and then it's their construction administration. They charge a flat 10% of the bid cost. The DOT does.
Okay. So there's no way to change scope or anything like that, or that none of that was considered?
No, because you don't know until you get the bid what they're gonna be. So, I mean, I think we pared things down as much as we can to try to keep
Okay.
things in line.
Okay.
Mike, are we, I think this might have predated you, I'm not sure, but are we typically including, when we're doing our estimate, are we including that management fee in there? I know it's fairly early that we're, putting these things in the CIP. Would we factor that in? I know this predated you here.
Yeah, my understanding is that construction cost was not included in this one in the original number. And it's not dissimilar, just so you know, when we get to fish hatchery, we haven't approved all of the construction engineering costs for that yet as well.
Something for us to keep in mind in the future.
Yep.
we're-
And we can do a better job of trying to put a number to that, at least a placeholder, so that we've got a better accounting.
Mike, does these funds include the bicycle bridge on the trail?
It does, and also, one thing I didn't bring up, and it's not a huge dollar amount, but it's still money, is I just got an email today that the city of Madison was gonna release some funds back to the federal program that we will get. If you looked in the memo, I think we're originally gonna get 300 and some thousand additional MPO funding. And then today, I think we found out we're gonna get another 23 or 29,000. So that will also help reduce some of the costs a little bit and take a little sting out of it. The other thing that was important as far as keeping this project on time and on task is it's adjoined to the fully DOT project, the Rona Road portion of PD. And they're sharing the traffic control on the intersection, the temporary signals and all that, so we have to hit the timing so that the two gel together. Otherwise, we've got real big budget impacts of having to pay for our own traffic control and separate those costs. So just one thing to consider.
Understood. Don't like it, but I understand it, yeah.
Yep, no, we don't like cost overruns either.
So, now, in light of recent developments with the revenue situation, is that also gonna affect the TID, in terms of the financial stability of the TID?
I don't think so, because that's tax increment, that's set in stone. I don't think, unless something was vacated and emptied or something, they still have that value.
Okay,
Pat maybe can answer more specifically to the TID.
Yeah, we expect that TID to do very well with the projects that we see there and the companies going in. There's also room for additional growth out there,
Okay.
which is good news, and, we can't discuss that right now, but there's been conversations for additional growth.
great. And then you think, Pat, that we're, in terms of doing this, despite some of the overruns in cost, and it's not unusual, I think, that we do see, at times, the bids come in higher, when the economy is good. The economy's been good recently until real recently. But we do see that, and so we adjust to it and we make it work. You think that going forward with this, and Misty maybe will speak to it in finance and at the council meeting, but you think that this is something, we're not in any danger in terms of the bonding, the debt service levels, and the project costs within the TID?
No, not at all. I think, this project is, it's moving at a pace that's necessary, right now for the city. We need to get this thing done. We've done sort of its sister project up to this point, and to not complete this now wouldn't be a wise move, because it's only going to cost more if we wait.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then we'll go into a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed can say nay. Okay, the ayes have it, that passes. We're on item 6A, we're in review items, review of utility January 2020 P card purchases and February checks. Is there any questions on that? Doesn't look like it. And then item 6B is review of utility February 2020 P card purchases and March 2020 checks. Is there any questions or comments on those?
I had none.
You got one? None? No? Doesn't sound like it. Okay, announcements. Next Board of Public Works meeting will take place on April 20th. This is Alder Scott's last meeting, so thank you for your service, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Yes. Thank you.
And then one other announcement for those watching on TV, just regarding the election. There's still an election tomorrow. It was announced today. There was some back and forth. The governor had sought to postpone the election for tomorrow. Subsequent to that, the Wisconsin Supreme Court did rule that the governor did not have executive authority to postpone the election, so polls will be open at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow here in the city and throughout the state. So be aware of that. That's all for announcements, unless anybody else has anything. Okay. That's all. We're on under item number 8, which is adjournment, and the chair at this time will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second that motion.
There's a second. All in favor of adjournment indicate so by saying aye.
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 And those opposed can say nay. We are in adjournment. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.